Hey there, everybody. It's Melissa Ramos, nutritionist with a background in Chinese medicine, also the owner of Sexy Food Therapy. And today I am really excited because I've got Meghan Telpner on the call today. Hey, Meghan.
Hi, Melissa.
So I'm really excited because I am going to be talking to Meghan about this fabulous book. If you guys can see without the glare here, but it is so awesome. It has these amazing recipes that as I was going through them, Meghan, I swear to you, it was like I was getting hungry.
I know the photography team was amazing. I mostly ate. I'm not a photographer. I mostly ate, but I did my job well and they did their job well.
Sweet. Well, it's a beautiful book. And if you
Thank
guys
you.
haven't picked this up, please do so. It's called the Undiet Cookbook. And I'm telling you guys all about this because this really is primarily a plant-based undiet book.
It is. It is. And I define plant-based in there as the majority of your diet coming from plants,
Yeah.
meaning unprocessed, vegetables mainly, and then you can supplement with whatever protein works for your diet and lifestyle and values and philosophy.
And work with that. Well, it's a fantastic book. So can you give us an idea in terms of why is it called the Undiet?
Do you want the true answer or the
Yeah.
media answer? You want the real
I want
answer.
the real. Give me the goods.
When my publisher contacted me, they wanted a diet book. And I was like, I can't write a diet book. I'm not writing a cleanse. Like, I don't want to be like the Meghan Telpner diet and how, like, so I was like, how do I actually present something that will sell, but that is real? And so we undid it and did the undiet because it's not a diet. Because I felt like if I did a diet, and I know that you subscribe to this too, like if I did like, this is the best diet, it's probably going to change in 3 years by the time
Totally.
the book comes out. And there's no one diet for everyone. So I always wonder how people write books that are like, and now here's the clean eating diet, and here's the beauty diet. And here it's like, if it's not the same food, what about the last one?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why it's called Undiet. And it's really this idea of breaking away from all those rules like calorie counting and fat grams and all those complicated nutrition panels that don't mean anything, and just going to eating really delicious, beautiful, abundant, seasonal food.
That's awesome. And so for those of you guys who don't know who Meghan Telpner is, first and foremost, where the hell have you been? Number two, she is a Toronto-based author. She's a speaker. She's a nutritionist. And she's also the founder of the Academy of Culinary Nutrition, which is, I have to say, I've seen some of the creations coming out of your students, and it's unbelievable at the quality of that program, that like the quality of the people that you're producing out of this is crazy.
Yeah, I think they're coming into it pretty awesome. And I'm just like channeling their awesomeness into cooking with real food and just offering that education in a way that doesn't just empower them being like, oh, I get it, but they get the skills to then go and share it with their own communities.
Yeah, and I'm telling you guys, like Meghan is somebody that I've always seen as such a colorful individual, both in style and personality.
And sometimes language.
Sometimes language. And she's really garnered this worldwide following and media attention as well. You've been on the Marilyn Dennis show. You've been on the Stephen and Chris show. You've been on so many different media outlets around the country. And this Academy of Culinary Nutrition, I see that you've got your board up behind you, and you've got this growing global tribe of
Yes.
these vibrant living advocates, as you call them, right?
Yeah, we've got students right now in over 30 countries.
Oh my God. And not only that, you are a 2-time best-selling authir.
Yes, as of
Oh.
this month. It's amazing. I'm going to start hanging out with you all the time. I like this. I like this cheerleading.
It is like, but that is like something to be said. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, I was pretty excited. I mean, when the Undiet Cookbook got to #1 on all books on Amazon and beat out Game of Thrones, like for a gluten-free cookbook to beat out Game of Thrones, like that says something, and not about me. I think about the shift in the consciousness of our population that
Yeah.
like people are looking for something positive and inspired and that will grow a beautiful life.
Yeah, and I think that it's really important that you say that because especially both of us have been in the media, and, media is always like, can you do this? And do you think you can do this? And it's kind of what they feel that people want, which I feel like I'm always struggling with it, only because of the fact that, especially with whether it's like TV shows or what have you, it's like, well, no one's looking to hear about health, but you're like living proof that like you just beat out the Game of Thrones, for Christ's sakes. Like, that's a big deal.
I know. And I get that too with the media. And it's always challenging being like, they're there and I want to be here. I'm like, let's try meeting here, because don't undersell your audience. Like, they're a lot smarter than I think media is letting them be. Like, people want this information. And to me, I don't know about your experience, but when I do segments that are almost on the cusp of being like too alternative for mainstream television, they get the best response because it's so new and so fresh, as opposed to like, can we have, 5 best pre-holiday detox strategies? It's like,
Let's
water,
talk about
like
6 foods to boost your immune system.
Yeah. I was like, I can't talk about the benefits of blueberries anymore. Just eat them.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I like about this Undiet Cookbook is that as I was going through this and dissecting it and literally just getting super hungry again, that it's not just about the recipes. This really is a lifestyle.
Yes.
So this is a lifestyle that you've even incorporated with your own self, but you didn't actually start out this way at all. You and I both came from an advertising background.
Yeah.
So
and we're both and I think we're both grateful for that experience.
Yeah.
And grateful that we escaped it.
Yeah.
And I don't know about what your situation was in advertising. I was working in interactive in like 2004, 2005, like the early days of the internet. And I was like, when is this crazy internet fad gonna pass? And it didn't. But I was sick. I was dealing with Crohn's disease. At that point was still undiagnosed, but I was going to these meetings with like my rice cakes and hummus, and everyone's got the bagel platters. And it was really difficult trying to navigate an alternative lifestyle in a very conventional, stress-fueled, coffee-fueled environment.
Big time.
And I'm grateful that I reached a crisis point that forced me to leave, because I don't know how or if I would have or in what regard. But that's really how I got into nutrition, was because my life literally depended on it. And so it sort of became for me this motivating factor to, like, with my blowhorn be like, hey, everybody, do this before you hit a crisis point. Like, let's pay attention today so that we don't ever need to get there. Or if we do, we have the resiliency, we have the dollars in our health bank account to, spend so that we can recover more quickly.
Absolutely. And so when you go through this undiet way of living, which really is what it is, you have everything here from drinks to awesome appetizers to mains to sauces to my favorite desserts, because I have a sweet tooth.
And there's edible beauty care.
Yes. And that's one of the things I think is fantastic. So these are things that, are these things complicated for people? Because that's always the thing that I hear from people is like, oh, but are you into all that natural stuff? And I find it so sad that natural all of a sudden became such a foreign word, and that people are just thinking it's so complicated to put this together. So do you feel that these recipes are complicated? Are they easy to whip up? Like, how much time do you figure that these recipes on average would allot?
Right. So I'm not a trained chef, so I don't even know how to cook complicated meals. I learned to cook through my healing. So I actually don't even know how to cook with like heavy creams and gluten flours, because I never ate them.
Yeah. So
the entire book happens to be gluten-free and dairy-free. It's not a focus. It's just my diet and how I live on a daily basis. But they're not complicated at all. And I worked really hard to make sure the ingredients weren't these sort of like natural hippie foods that you had to go to specialty stores to find, that you can find them at the supermarket. And every recipe also gives the prep time and the cook time. So most of them, prep time is no more, like the longest is probably 20 minutes, but I'd say most are 10 to 15 minutes, and then, 30 minutes cook time. And then a lot of them give directions for what you can prep in advance and how to freeze them so you can have your own grab and go menus. And even the beauty care stuff is made with food. It's stuff you can buy at the supermarket. Baking soda and coconut oil and apple cider vinegar and all the things you talk about.
Yeah.
So it's all very doable. And that I think is the most important part of all of this, is that it's something that people are actually going to do and actually going to love and enjoy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And even to give you guys an example, like I like this memories of martinis fettuccine. To give you guys an example, these are not complicated ingredients. Cauliflower, kale, olive oil, garlic, shiitake mushrooms, tomato, zucchini, soba noodles, and that's you can omit it for a grain-free option. You've got a sauce that has cashews, water, tamari, garlic, sea salt, and I think the most complicated, maybe hippie thing would be nutritional yeast, but right now that is so available to find at any health food store, and it tastes good.
And if you can't find it, don't use it, but you should get it, because the best thing is if you grind up a little bit of nutritional yeast with some hemp seeds and sea salt and sprinkle that on your non-GMO popcorn.
So good.
So good.
So good. So these are really not complicated ingredients whatsoever. And so the other thing that I hear is that, how about if I have children that are super picky?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that. And I don't think we should ever label kids as picky eaters, because the more you label them, the pickier they're going to get, because they now have a title to uphold. So I don't have any kids of my own, but I have 6 nieces and nephews under the age of 7.
Wow.
It's a lot. And what I've noticed, and they come from 3 sets of parents, is how things are handled. So if one set of parents, their kids help them in the kitchen, they participate, and they're like little, like 3 and 6, but they participate in making the food. And as such, they have a vested interest. They're engaged in the meal, and everyone sits down at the table and eats it together as a family. And sure, they'll get bored. They get a coloring book, but they don't leave the table till everyone's done eating. And I think that those are really important habits to start really early on. And then there's another set of kids that I don't want this. I want my noodles and ketchup. Yeah. And if they get that every time, they're going to ask for it every time. And one of the best lessons, the parenting lessons I got from my sister-in-law, which I hope to use one day, perhaps, is to do as you intend to continue. So sometimes it's easier with your kids just to give in to avoid the tantrums, but it's going to continue. Yeah. And if you want to stop that, today is the day. So I think really important is getting kids involved. And a lot of the recipes in my book, I've got the dressed to the nines sweet potato and the easy street pizza, and even like the breakfast perfection, like different recipes that allow, minimal but free customization. So kids can choose their own toppings and actually control a little bit of the color and flavor of their food, which goes a long way.
Yeah, because they're such visual little beings, right?
Yes. They're and I remember back in the day, my dad, who comes from an advertising background, always said that kids love ketchup because it allows them to control the color and flavor of their food. I might have also been because it's liquid sugar. Yeah. But it's that idea that, kids want to assert their independence pretty early on, and giving them free run of here's your sweet potato. You can put whatever you want on it of all these things, and they'll do it and they'll eat it.
Yeah. And so you spoke a little bit about the term, today is the day. And so I've seen that on Instagram and all kinds of your posts, which I think is great. So, and a lot of that is about mindset, because we talk about this Undiet Cookbook. For me, this wasn't just a cookbook. I mean, it is a cookbook, and it's super, plant-based, meaty kind of cookbook, but it's also very much this lifestyle and also mindset, which you speak about in the book. So tell us a little bit about the mindset, because I know that that's a really big, important piece to your puzzle in your life that you live every day.
Absolutely. So today's day is the start of my manifesto, my creed, which I wrote for my life, but it ended up applying to my business too. And then people loved it so much. So we had these t-shirts done. They're like our tribe t-shirts for our students that say today is the day. And then we sent them out, and they all started taking pictures of themselves, in these amazing locations, rocking the what it means to live today is the day. And I've been doing a lot of research lately on radical remission, just because I've been really curious about it, and with my own health and overcoming what I was told was an incurable disease. And so in radical remission, the first step is to radically change your diet. I'm like, okay, not so complicated. Yeah. And then they have things like lifestyle and exercise and supplements. And then the 5th step of, I think it's 7 or 9, is attitude, then positive thinking, and then gratitude. And those components are so fundamental to health. I think they're more fundamental for the most part.
Say 5th part. I'm like, they should
I
be bumped
know.
up the ladder a bit.
I know. But if we're eating like fast food, cocktail, hamburgers, when they're made with like 100 bits of different cow, I don't know that, positive attitude is going to turn that into something good in your body. I don't know. I don't know if we had a teacher in nutrition school who's like, I pray over my donuts and I don't want to be judged for it. I'm like, okay, it's still a donut. But this idea that, if we're stressed eating a salad, that salad's not going to help us. If we're pissed off about having to take supplements, those supplements aren't going to help us. If we're angry going for our acupuncture treatment, like, I have to go get needles, it's not going to do its job.
No.
And, everything we do is an energy exchange in and out and in and out. And so the attitude you bring towards living an optimally healthful lifestyle is going to do a lot more for your health than ensuring you have the most perfect water filter system in your kitchen, or making sure you're taking the exact right probiotic for your gut microbiome. I think that if we can be happy when we wake up in the morning and practice gratitude before we eat and go into our day with a really great intention, like today is going to be awesome, and you probably won't always be right, but at least try, aim for it. And the days you are right, it will be awesome and you'll be present enough to acknowledge it. And I think that that's just so important. And because there's, when you and I first started in nutrition, there wasn't the same volume of information being thrown at people from every different direction.
At all.
At all. And I mean, that's why I went into it, because I couldn't learn anywhere else except to actually go and do it myself. But now there's so much nutrition information, and I don't want to see that become a further stress when people are like, okay, well, now I want to live healthfully. Do I eat vegan or do I eat paleo? Or I want to do this, but I don't know if I can do it forever. And I don't know what my family will think and all that. It's like one step at a time. And I think that we all fundamentally know, and I say today's the day, one thing we can start doing today that will improve our health. And you don't need to go see an expert practitioner or have some health guru to tell you what that one thing is. You know it.
Yeah.
You know it when you wake up in the morning. You know it when you go to sleep at night. You know what that one thing is. And so let's do that. And do it with like, yes, I can do this, and be empowered and like, you're awesome.
And it's so important. And I tell this to my tribe, and those of you guys who are listening will know that I always hammer this in your heads. It's just like, lifestyle factors are really important. You can eat all the kale that you want. You can drink all the smoothies that you want. You can take all the supplements you want. And Lord knows they can get really expensive. But if you are just miserable the whole time, then forget it. It doesn't make any difference. And I've had people say, well, I've incorporated the supplements and I've eaten really well. I've followed everything. I'm like, what time are you going to bed?
Yeah.
Like all those things. And I'm the first one to say that I've, cheated in that regard, where it's like I've been up till 2:00 in the morning. I'm sure that you can probably relate, being an entrepreneur, that you've had some very late nights yourself. So
no, I can't do the late night.
But did you in the beginning though?
You know what? If I weren't married to the person I was married to, I probably would have. But he is like, Megan, shut down. It's time. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm always like, oh, you're not the boss of me. I'm like, I know he's right. I know he's right when he's like, at 10:00, turn off your phone and like go color in your coloring book. Go sit at the table. And I'm like, okay. Because I know it's what I need to do. Because otherwise, when you're that type A, you don't shut it off and you'll keep going. And, I have this prescription for the awesome sauce marinade, which is like where you go to sleep and the last things you do at night are not scroll through your phone, but instead you're like, here's where I was awesome today. I was awesome at that interview, and I was awesome at, making my own meals today. And I was awesome when I held the door for that person. And you go to sleep thinking about how you rock the shit out of the day and marinate in that awesome sauce, and you'll wake up feeling better than if you go to sleep thinking about like the evening news or who your ex-boyfriend is dating.
Yeah, that in itself is awesome. So how do you ever find in your life, you're this awesome advocate for this lifestyle, but do you ever find in your life that things kind of get thrown off balance? And when they do, how do you get back into balance? Like how do you do it yourself? Because I think a lot of people look at yourself, me, Julie, Marnie, all the people in, this sort of health realm. And sometimes I think that they put us on this like, I don't want to say pedestal, but this level where it's like, these people are perfect. And the thing I always try to come back is like, oh, hell no, I'm not. But like, you know, I fall off, you know, not to say that I'm eating Twix bars by any stretch, but you know, sometimes I do falter. So how do you end up gaining balance when you find that things start to fall out of place?
Yeah, so I think that my first lesson in balance came years ago when I swung so extreme into the health realm that like I would only cook certain things in certain ways to maximize their nutrient potential and like all those things that like and at the time I was dating someone, it was when I was in nutrition school, I was dating someone who literally would call me from the fast food drive-through so I could hear him order
Oh,
just to irritate me, which is obviously why I'm not with him anymore. But because of that, I responded by going like full extreme. Like I would never have a glass of wine. I would never divert in any way.
yeah.
And then I think for me, having a partner that is like full on in it with me, we also allow ourselves to have that balance and be okay with it. So I don't know that I ever fall off, so to speak. I think that I'm too mindful of my health and the fact that like if I fall off for too long, I could get this autoimmune disease back.
Yeah.
But I think that what I've learned to do over time is structure my life in such a way to make it easy to stay on track. So, for example, right now, the last 4 weeks, I've been doing my book tour and it's very busy and it's working every weekend. And I don't like working on weekends. So it's working every weekend and it's traveling and it's like going far away and not having my own schedule. And so we put in place where we're ordering organic meal delivery so that I know that if I'm on the road for the day, I have good food to take with me.
Yeah.
And that's like a non-negotiable. And I also asked through my publicist that they were going to schedule all these travel dates really close together. And I was like, I need time in between. Like I can't go from one flight to another and keep going. I was like, I need to come home and ground in and sleep in my bed and go to a yoga class. Otherwise, I can't do my best work. If I'm exhausted, everything else suffers. And if my job is to be healthy and to inspire health, I need to maintain it. And so it's taken me, 7, 8 years of being an entrepreneur to understand how important it is sometimes to say no and to space things out and to really focus my priorities in such a way that I can maintain exactly what I'm sharing and what I don't want to say preaching, but what I'm advocating for that I'm living too. And we all know that like health is all over your face. You can't hide it. When you don't sleep, you can't be on TV the next day because you look exhausted.
Totally.
And so learning that, and also like I just turned 36 and I'm like the gray hairs are flying out. I'm like, I can't get away with the same things I could 10 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Well, you spoke a little bit about travel, and I want to touch on that as well because in your book, which I think is awesome, you have a whole section on the undiet travel, which I think is so needed. I mean, like, look at this, guys. This is so beautiful. These photos are just beautiful. This is such
Catherine Farquharson did the lifestyle shots. She's amazing.
Oh, she literally like did such a great job. But I'm telling you, this is such an important chapter because people always ask me, what do you do when you're traveling? How do you eat? And we spoke a little bit about this when we ran into each other at the CHFA show. I ran into Josh first, and he was asking me, like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, usually we rent like an Airbnb, and then we cook our own food. Yeah. Because I want to be in control of that. So tell us a little bit about this section and what people can expect out of it.
Yeah. And that was when I told you that you have to go to Bali because it's the mecca of good, clean food and you don't have to make it all. They'll deliver it for $1. So the Undiet Travel offers references from the book. So all the recipes in the book that are safe to take on airplanes so that you can actually travel with them and they'll pass through security. List of things you might want to pack to take with you on your trip so that you have those as snacks or breakfast. I always like, even when I'm traveling, no matter where, I like to have my breakfast in my room or in the Airbnb or wherever I'm staying so that you don't have to go out searching for that and let that morning blood sugar crash. So things you can take with you or buy when you arrive, and then also some meal ideas for like no kitchen meal prep that you can make in your hotel room. And what I've been doing, and this is the advice I give in the book too, is based on where my hotel is, where I'm traveling now, because I don't always get to choose those things, is to find whether there's a health food store or grocery store nearby, and make sure that as soon as I drop my stuff off at the hotel, I grab a taxi and go pick up my supplies, because I know that if I don't do that, it's going to impact my work while I'm there. And when it's not for work and it's for a holiday, you don't want to come back feeling worse than when you left.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and I think that a lot of people use travel almost as an excuse to be like, well, I'm away, I'm on holidays. But the longer you stay on a healthier path, the harder those indulgences are going to hit you. And at some point, I think it's just not worth it anymore. That we want to go away and we want to indulge in what I call the good life, which is like eating really good food and going on hikes and doing those things and not being impaired by like not being able to poop, which you talk lots about. Like, walking around full of shit all day can ruin your day.
Totally. Absolutely. And that's the thing is I really want to stress to you guys that this is not a cleanse and it's not a detox. So please don't pick up this book thinking that this really is about incorporating this as a lifestyle. And you actually go into that even further at the end about the Undiet life and this gorgeous photo of you and Josh, just like stunning. And so this is the Undiet for life, because I think that some people will go on these types of cleanses or detoxes where they just get some like meal ideas in a small folded up piece of paper in a detox box that maybe has enough power to detox a hamster possibly. But, and they're getting this and then after 2 weeks, they're like, okay, I'm going to start eating shit again. So
I know.
It's sad. But so when it comes to this, how do people incorporate this as a lifestyle?
So that reminds me of another book I wrote called Undiet.
Which is awesome.
But in my first book, I actually give an 8-week transition program for people who want to transition these habits in, and we can all create our own. I actually have a blog post on my website called how to designing your own undetox or something. It's something like that.
Yeah.
But it's this idea that like if there's sort of these key elements we need to detox from, we need to detox our mind, which is the most important detox organ, and that's what the final chapter of my book is about. Really, the Undiet Life is about like getting the baggage out of there so that you have space for new and awesome, bright, shiny goodness.
Yeah.
But so this idea that like, what are your mind detox practices going to be? Is it going to be not reading gossip magazines? Is it going to be avoiding the evening news? Is it going to be practicing non-judgment on yourself or others? So there's ways you can create the best mind detox for whatever you need. Then the food detox is like, what are you going to eliminate from your diet that is not serving you? And I'm sure when you meet with clients and you're like, do you know what you eat that makes you feel worse? And everyone knows at least 2 things they're eating that are contributing to their primary concern.
Yep.
So like get rid of that and maybe keep that out. My favorite is when people are like, I don't want to eliminate gluten because I've heard that once you eliminate it, if you add it back in, it's even worse. Like, so just keep suffering in a moderate way until it actually gets worse naturally. So the mind, the diet, and then choosing exercises that feel really good in your body, that you love to do and that you will do without excuses, and that empower you as opposed to making you feel bad for your current way of being. So we've got mind, we've got diet, we've got movement, and then the lifestyle stuff, finding those things you can do every single day that you enjoy doing. And whether that's coloring in a coloring book or singing a song or dancing or whatever it might be, writing, but something creative where the process itself is the outcome, where you're not like, okay, I need to create a masterpiece, but just something that you enjoy doing. Or cooking is a really great way to channel that.
I love it. I love it. It's that or apartment dancing. Apartment dancing is the best.
Yes. We're really excited because we just moved, so we don't have downstairs neighbors anymore. So we can like go to town on the dancing.
And speaking of dancing and going to town on all that, Undiet entertaining.
Yeah.
So, people will entertain. And one of the questions that I get is, Melissa, I'm following your plan. I'm feeling fantastic. But I'm a little nervous because there's this party coming up, and I know there's going to be a bunch of really crappy food there, and I'm kind of nervous about it. And the thing I always say to people is bring a dish.
Yes.
Bring a dish because the host will really appreciate it that someone else has taken the time to prepare the food, but also you're going to be able to have something to go to in case there's no other options. So let's talk a little bit about this because you've got some really great points here that I want you to touch on.
And I always give the exact same advice about bringing a dish, but just don't bring like the raw seaweed salad. Like don't bring something super weird that people are like, oh, there's Meghan and her hippie food again. Like bring something that's like delicious and a little bit mainstream so that everyone can enjoy it. But some of the other things I suggest, and one of the toughest things is, and this is like people go either way on this. I won't serve anything in my home that I wouldn't eat. So if like I have someone coming over and they're like, they love their Diet Coke, too bad. I'm not buying Diet Coke for you.
Yeah.
So I always feel like when you're entertaining, make the best of what you love and what you eat. And you don't need to sacrifice that for your guests. It's a great way to introduce them to the way you live. And likewise, you can't expect them to cook exactly what to your needs when you go there. And that's where bringing something helps. And I usually just like people really have just stopped inviting me over for dinner, which is fine with me too, because usually it's like, okay, well, I don't eat this and I don't eat this and I'm allergic to black pepper. And, you know, it's just the way it is. Thankfully, I think people are becoming more sensitive to dietary needs, that it's not just being difficult. So the entertaining thing is a great way to introduce people to a lifestyle in a very non-judgmental way. And I think that also when you are dining with other people who aren't eating the same way as you or offer you something you don't want to eat, you don't need to make a big deal about it. Like your dietary choices do not need to be the center of conversation at every dinner you go to. And, you know, as simple as being like, thank you, I'm fine. That's sufficient. To be like, oh, no. I don't need that. Like, just don't do that. It's not going to go over well. So there's kind ways to decline things without being judgmental. And I know it's difficult. And as we all learn about nutrition and health and all these things, and we see people eating things or doing things we know that are jeopardizing their health or exacerbating the thing that they've been complaining to us about, you can't say anything unless you are asked specifically. That's your invitation to share information. But I also offer in the entertaining chapter, I think it's 6 different menu ideas for 6 different types of parties, like the kids' party and the family dinner and the brunch and the girls' spa night in.
Fun family taco night.
Everyone loves family taco night.
Come on.
So it's just that way of introducing it. And I also give tips on like, you don't need to buy toxic flowers. Like the flowers are expensive. You can decorate with alternative things, reuse your cutlery, you want to wash it, but reuse napkins, using real plates and cutlery, and just the importance of that, the disposable, no food tastes good on a styrofoam plate ever.
No.
So like, it's not a lot. If you need to rent some dishes, if you're having a big event, it's worth it. So there's some conscious entertaining tips in there as well.
And I think that this is great. I mean, this covers so many different bases. And, guys, whether you are somebody who is, well-skilled in the kitchen, or if you're somebody who is a complete novice, this book is fantastic. I mean, again, I keep ranting about the photos, but the photos of not just yourself, as I just keep on, like, look at your mom and dad, look at you and Josh. But like,
my whole family's in there.
It's so great. So what are some of your favorite recipes in this book? Like, I wish I could eat bananas, because bananas sadly make my tongue very itchy.
My dad too. My dad can't have bananas or walnuts.
Oh, it's a recent thing, which really blows. But one of the things that just like pops out at me so much is your banana berry oat mazing muffins.
Yeah, but I think I haven't tried it yet. One of my students can't have bananas, and I think you could probably do it. It won't be like banana bread like, but I think you could do it with, I was going to say pureed sweet potato. Ooh. Might work. And we use pureed sweet potato in our brownies as well. One of my favorites, and this was like a surprise hit, and it's really interesting, and I'm sure you've experienced this when you publish a recipe, you're like, oh, this is so good, and then it's like crickets. And then you're like, this one's kind of weird, but then it like blows up. So one of the ones in the drink section is the Jamu juice, which I learned about in Bali, and it's like a turmeric elixir. And
Oh my
I combine
God.
fresh turmeric, or you can use powder, with a little bit of lime juice, some hemp seeds, and a little bit of sweetener and water. And it's amazing. And it surprised me. So, it was one of those like sort of borderline very, very super healthy recipes that I'm like, I don't know, will this fly? And people have been loving that
And
one.
they've been digging it.
They've been digging it. There's also banana-free recipes, include the chocolate say it twice pancakes, which has been really popular. It's a beautiful photo that went with that one. With some of the dinners, the unshepherd's pie is a really simple, great winter meal where you can make it with meat or with beans, and we swap out the white potato for either straight up cauliflower mash, or you can do the millet cauliflower if you have grains. That Memories of Martini's fettuccine is great because you can modify it with whatever vegetables you have around, and it kind of replaces like that hearty pasta meal. There's so many. There's a bunch of soups too. The creamified, or I think it's the cream of mushroom love soup, where like I'm convinced that mushroom soup can bring world peace, because if you eat it, like it just takes the fight out of you. It's just like all those medicinal mushrooms that are so healing and so immune modulating. So for people who have autoimmune, they'll help downregulate. For people who have immunodeficiency, it'll upregulate. And it's just so creamy and rich and easy to make.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could just go through each one. They're like my babies.
I was gonna say, you probably have such a strong connection. There's your Jamu juice.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful
Gorgeous.
photo too.
Gorgeous, super anti-inflammatory because it's rich in that turmeric as well, which is amazing for your lady balls, my friends out there. And everything digestive-wise, liver, you name it. And so you also talk a lot about coffee.
Yes.
I'm a huge advocate of this too. As you know, my family is Brazilian, so it really should be pumping in my veins. But I found that when I was having coffee, even, when people have like a cup of coffee and they're like, but I only have just one cup. It's never that they have a cup. But I only have one cup. Like it's always that reply. And when I only had that one cup every single day, which doesn't seem like it's an excess, I started to grind my teeth. And it was like, and I started getting awful TMJ. And I was like, am I low in iron? Do I have parasites? Like I couldn't figure it out because I didn't actually think that what I was doing was that bad. And I guess because I was holding on to my coffee. When I removed it, it stopped happening because coffee obviously depletes your magnesium stores along with a bunch of good bacteria as well. But I love the fact that you have a lot of you have an uncoffee recipe, and you've got a lot of coffee alternatives here, which I totally dig, and I'm a huge advocate for, because even though I do have a cup on the weekends, because I still do love coffee, I find that one cup for the entire week is like, I savor it then, versus the rest of the week. It's like I'm enjoying my other cups as well. So can you tell us a little bit about these recipes?
Yeah. So the uncoffee, well, like we're seeing this trend, right? Where suddenly you can throw like a heap of butter into your coffee and now it's a health food.
Yeah.
But it's still coffee. And there's two types of people in the world: people who can metabolize caffeine quickly and people who metabolize caffeine slowly.
Correct.
I happen to be a fast metabolizer of caffeine according to my genetic testing. But if I drink caffeine, I get incredibly jittery and anxious. So I'm just not metabolizing it fast enough, or I'm so sensitive to it that I still feel the difference, or so sensitive to anything in my body that maybe shouldn't be there. So that's the first thing to recognize. So people who are fast metabolizers might actually get some health benefit, but if you need that one cup of coffee just to function,
there's something wrong.
It's acting as a drug. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to have to rely on something just to wake up, just to function. And people who talk about, well, I love the ritual. It's like, well, I've offered you a ritual in the uncoffee, which is a delicious and rich beverage that is rich in magnesium, that supports the liver, that supports the nervous system, essentially does everything opposite that a cup of coffee will do, except it still tastes amazingly delicious. There's also, they all have really ridiculous names. There's the mocha maca.
I love that photo too.
Yeah, it's a frosty one. And in that one, this one, here, I've got it. Iced mocha maca magic.
Look at this,
There
guys.
it is.
Oh my God.
So this one, I actually use a few coffee beans in it for flavor. It's like 10 coffee beans. And so you get that rich coffee flavor without that negative caffeine offset. Plus, we've got maca in there. That's that great adaptogenic herb that will help us stabilize our stress levels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the ritual, you're just replacing it with, you're upgrading to a different ritual. And you still get the goodness.
And it's one of those things, guys, that I think that I always hear that is people say, well, when I have a cup of coffee, it's the creaminess that I really enjoy. It's that creamy comfort. So what I always say is, like, I don't offer them green tea, although green tea is great. There are other ways that you can get that creamy goodness. And there are some amazing recipes in here that really are rich and provide that. But in addition to that, you've got tonics as well. You've got a healthy hair tonic here. That's fantastic. And also some smoothies, some teas, shakes, and all kinds of goodness to make your own, nut milks, all that jazz. So there's so much here that I literally could go on and speak to you for several more hours. I'm not even going to lie. So I think this is great. And so for those of you guys who want to find out all about this incredible book, Meghan you can actually check it out. You can go on Amazon, get a copy of this bad boy, because it wants a home, and it's your home that it can live on your bookshelf like it does mine. And you can also go to the undietcookbook.com.
Yes, the undietcookbook.com. There's links to different places to buy it. You can also register your copy. And we've got presents, because nowadays just a cookbook is not enough, apparently.
No.
So we have two meal plans, 2 5-day meal plans. One is more vegan, one is more paleo. So you can actually experience a week in the life of Undiet living. There's another 8 recipes that got cut from the book. So there's a little bonus. We're calling it more Undiet inspiration recipes from the chopping block. And
nice.
Finally, we have a 35-minute smoothie formulation tutorial. So at the back of the book, there's an appendix on how to formulate smoothies. So there's a video that goes along with it. So it's a little online course.
And there's just so many little call-outs out all throughout the book, But wait, there's more. Learn more tips and tricks for better sleep. Visit. And you've got these great little call-outs throughout the entire
there's a lot of information, and it's all referenced. So in addition to the recipes, like you, I like to, pepper in some science and some evidence about, like, why are we choosing organic strawberries over conventional, and why is that turmeric so great? So it's all referenced with proper studies and such to support the nutrition information that's integrated into all the sunshine and color.
Which is fantastic. So guys, make sure that you get a copy of the Undiet Cookbook. It is one of my new favorite cookbooks that I definitely have been diving into, and have just been making food that has been making Eric incredibly happy, my fiance. So thank you so much, Meghan, for taking the time
Thank you, Melissa.
Spend with me on this rainy little day here in Toronto, but it's all that much more sunnier now that I've gotten to speak with you and pick your brain all about your book. And I wish you all the best love and success on this book, but you don't even need it because you're doing phenomenally well.
I'll take all the love. All the love. Always.
It's always good to have more, right?
Yes. Giving is receiving.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. And again, guys, check it out, the Undiet Cookbook from 2-time best-selling author Meghan Telpner, and check out all her goodness. Trust me, you won't be disappointed.